Hi, Primas. I'm Roxy,
And I'm Giselle.
and this is the For Las Primas podcast.
Welcome back. So today our topic is self-love, which I feel like will come up again and again, and it has already come up for us in the pod. But let's be real, like when people talk about self-love, they make it sound like it's just face masks, bubble baths, and lighting fancy candles.
Don't get me wrong, I love a good skincare routine, but is that really self-love or is that just consumer self-love? Self-love should be about setting boundaries, unlearning generational trauma, and doing the uncomfortable inner work.
Exactly. And today we're going to get into it. Our healing journeys, the hard lessons that we had to learn, and the moments that we realized that we were actually loving ourselves.
So we actually did a little research for this episode and we polled our Instagram friends, and here's what we found. So we asked the question, do you think self-love is selfish? And we got an overwhelming answer, hell to the no. So that's good. Most of our friends see self-care as something that's important. And it was interesting though, when we asked, do you prioritize self-care? More primas responded with sometimes. And the most popular answer after that was, of course, it's a non-negotiable. And we did have one of our moms respond with, what is self-care? And so I dug a little deeper into what the sometimes group was, and it was mostly moms. And that really resonates. And I totally see that. Our last question was asking about our moms. Like, did your mom prioritize self-care? And we had a mix between no, she prioritized her family and others. That was the majority. And next came sorta, she always had her nails and hair did. And we had 0 responses saying, yes, my mom is a self-love queen. So I think that today we will get deeper into some of these topics, but it is sad and it is telling at the start of this episode to see that moms have a hard time prioritizing self-care, and also the correlation with not seeing our own moms prioritize their own self-care. And we've talked about that on the pod too.
I find it interesting that like off the first question, everybody was like, no, like it's not selfish at all. But then like nobody really tries to prioritize their own self-care.
Yeah, or maybe they just can't because, like life right now is so busy. There's so much going on. We live in a country that prioritizes like hustle and bustle, and it becomes really hard, I think, especially when you have kids, to say, after you've taken care of your house and your child and all of your responsibilities, like at the end of the night, sometimes you only have an hour. So it becomes really hard to self-care. Side note, Chapel Roan coming out saying that everyone that she knows that is a mother is unhappy.
Yes,
That she
yes.
would never have children because everybody with children are just unhappy and they're lost their will to live, or I don't remember the words that she used, but she is getting dragged through the internet right now.
Yeah, I saw that. And I saw somebody else make a comment about it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if like unhappy was the right word that she should have used. I don't think it's unhappy. It's like more so like people are just like tired. But there was somebody else that was like, we need to stop with those like family Instagrams that like romanticize like having children, making it look like it's so easy when it's not. But then she's on the other extreme being like, well, they're so unhappy and miserable.
I heard an interesting take because what I have seen a lot of is like these mom influencers being like, ha ha, like I'm so happy. I love my children. You'll never get the joy of my children. Or people posting videos of their kids laughing. And it's also like she doesn't have children. So she just sees her friends struggling. She doesn't get the joy of that. And an interesting perspective too that I heard is that our communities are smaller and people have less help. There's less of a village. And so there's a lot of moms that are really struggling because it's not like when our moms were having children where they had their moms, and the tias and everybody lived close to each other. And, despite immigrating, they immigrated to the US and then they lived close together. Whereas now we don't really have that village. I know I don't because I live in Colorado and my family lives in Miami, and my husband and I work full time, and we don't have the luxury of having a nanny or not working. And so, um, and it is tough. And then self-care, some days I'm like, LOL.
Mhm. Yeah.
LOL.
Not to bring astrology into this, but I also feel
Give it to us.
I'm a Virgo, and every single time that I get read, they're always like, you really need to like prioritize your self-care because you're like really like burning yourself out. And I'm like, and it's so true because for me, having a day and just sitting on the couch and just reading, I'm like, oh my God, like I could have been cleaning, I could have been studying. I don't even have dinner cooked and I have no excuse for that. I could have been doing so many other things, but my body was also tired and was like, just sit and read and do nothing. I don't know if that's like a first generation problem, an older sister problem, or a Virgo problem.
All of them sound like a deadly combination. There's this first generation influencer that I followed, and she said something like rest is a requirement, not a reward. And I think, especially, our parents came to this country and didn't have the luxury of not working, didn't have the luxury of rest. Maybe like Sundays, right? Where like, nobody worked. But even still, like I remember my mom would always be cleaning and my mom would always be doing something. And I feel like millennials now are sort of taking a step back and being like, actually, I need to somehow sit with this feeling that's uncomfortable, but be okay with not doing anything because
Mhm.
that's what you need sometimes.
That yeah, that's hard. It's hard to be like, okay, I need to prioritize not doing anything.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard for us?
It's so hard. It's also just how we were brought up. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like I see this all over the internet now, and it's so true. Where like kids will tell their parents they're depressed, and their mom's like, "Pues ponte a limpiar." We'll get up and start cleaning, and then your depression will go away. There's like no space to feel depressed, to feel feeling, to feel. They're like, "Estás aburrida. Do something with your time."
Yeah. Oh my God. I just saw something. I was like, oh, when I tell my husband, oh my gosh, I have so much anxiety. I'm so stressed. And they're like, well, just forget about it. And you're like, wow, thank you. I didn't actually even think about that. I feel like a
Well, just
great
forget.
response to our parents. Like, you know what? I actually didn't think about cleaning to get rid of my depression. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. A part of self-care and self-love comes from our self view, right? Like, how do we see ourselves? And I feel like in Latin families, for women especially, body image is number one. I have a stat where 58% of Latinas report that their body image was first shaped by comments from their family members. And that is so true. That is the part that goes into the rest thing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I should just relax. And I'm like, you know what? I should just get up and go to like yoga class, or I should get up and go for a walk, or I should get up and do, and I'm like, no, just relax. But body image is a big thing.
It's a huge thing. And we even get our nicknames based on your body image that you're never going to outgrow.
Ay
Like
gordo,
flaca.
ay gordo la flaca.
Literally having the shows called Gordo y
Yeah.
la Flaca, that's crazy.
For our
Uh,
listeners who don't know what that is, El Gordo y la Flaca is a talk show about a man, Raúl de Molina, who is gordito, he's chunky, and Lily Estefan, who's Emilio Estefan's niece, and she is tall and skinny. So they named this whole show. It's like if we had the skinny woman and the fatty. Like that was the name of the
that would
show.
be the English translation. And that would never fly. That would never fly. But that show has been flying like for
Decades.
years. Yeah,
Decades.
it's so
Easily decades. I never even thought about that. That is bizarre. That is like Latino culture right there.
like literally, like I was texting you earlier, but like I met a Cuban woman playing tennis today, And, we were talking like in English first. And then she's like, I'm sorry, my English isn't very good. I speak Spanish. And I'm like, I speak Spanish too. So then we started talking, like, literally just met this woman. And as we're like going to go back to playing our sets, like, we weren't playing together, but I was like, I'm going to go back. And she's like, okay, by the way, tú tienes un cuerpazo. And I was like, okay, which translates to like, you have a banging body in English. And I just met this woman and she's like already commenting on my body. Like that to me, I was like, oh, that's so typical Cuban. And then just like when we go home and we like see our families for the first time, the very first thing out of their mouth is always like, estás poniendo gorda or estás flaca. Like it's always one or the other before like, hi, how are you? How you been?
Totally. Totally. And the flaca has levels too, because you
Right.
can't be too flaca.
Mm-mm.
Because being flaca is skinny. So being flaca is really looked upon. That's like the body image piece. But also, if you're too skinny, then you have a problem and you need to eat more. So it's like eat more or don't eat enough or eat
Mhm.
less, or
There's
there's
just
always a
never
comment about eating.
but I was thinking like I have body dysmorphia 100%. And I know a lot of my Latina friends also have body dysmorphia. Growing up in the 90s didn't help. That was a crazy time to grow up and I feel like we all have body dysmorphia. But then hearing it from our family 24/7, I guess like there's an English version of that called almond mom.
Mm,
Have you heard about almond moms?
no,
They're like, "Oh, like, watch what you eat." Like, so they're called almond mom because 'cause they're like, "Here, just eat an almond." I think our moms were a little bit more blunt about it.
totally. Yeah. I think I would talk to any of my girlfriends who are Latinas, and most of them would respond with, I have body dysmorphia for sure. There's no normalizing telling your grandmother not to say you're fat or skinny. I can't tell my grandma that. If she tells me, está flaca, every time she says, está flaca, te ves bonita. And
Yes, that's so
that
true.
it's like, estás gorda, tienes que cuidarte. It's like, you're skinny, you look really good, or you're gaining weight, you got to be careful.
Yeah, because gaining weight in our culture is also associated with, like, being unhealthy, which we know, like, that's not to be true anymore.
When we look at Latinas in Hollywood, they're so different from what real Latinas look like. Like Salma Hayek in a
Mhm,
million years. Who's looking
mhm,
like Salma? She's gorgeous. She's got the perfect body, but she's so rare to come by. Or Sofia Vergara, who's tall, gorgeous Colombian woman. Eva Longoria, who's also another one who's just like drop dead gorgeous. And that was who we had to look up to.
mhm. And then
And
remember what happened with America Ferrera? They made her Betty La Fea.
they did. Oh
Yeah,
my
she got
God.
a lot of crap. America Ferrera is a strong woman because she got a lot of crap in Hollywood.
I did not even put that together. That is insane. And then the women that you'd see, and I know you didn't do a lot of novelas. I did a lot of novelas with my grandma, like spent a lot of time there. And these women looked, first of all, like their bodies were perfect, but also they were super like European and white looking. A lot of the novelas are Mexican. They didn't represent like the true Mexican populations, and the ones that did, that were maybe brown or short or whatever, were put in the role as La Sirvienta or the help. That stays with you.
I,
That
it
stays.
does. It really does. It really does. I mean, I feel like the novelas now that I'm watching on Netflix haven't changed much
Mm.
in that respect. Yeah.
And then on the opposite spectrum, you go to Miami, and all these girls have BBLs. And it's like a whole new definition of what a Latina body looks like. And you need to have this hourglass figure. And it's like, no, we don't have, like, we don't look all the same. And everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like very stunned by this, that everybody has fake lips, a crazy amount of filler, Botox, a BBL, and like they work out maybe, but everything is surgery.
We're not ugly, we're just poor.
Oh, we're so poor. um,
Oh my gosh. But I will say that is definitely like where my self-love journey started, was like with body image and like redefining. I mean, I still struggle with that, but like redefining, like, like that everybody's body's different and you can't compare yourself to anyone, like not even your sibling. Like you cannot compare yourself because everyone has different bodies, and like loving my body and honoring my body, and being lucky to be able to like play tennis and do yoga and do all those things. It's an ongoing struggle, but that's definitely where my healing journey started.
Well, I want to validate that your body is beautiful and that you are beautiful. And you do have a cuerpazo for tennis and for anything that you want to do. And I think that it's a good reminder to have a space where we can be vulnerable about the things that we feel insecure about and what we've been conditioned to think and feel about ourselves, and redefining those narratives.
Totally. Totally.
One thing that I love to see is Latina women taking back their own power and saying, like, this is what I do, this is how I self care. That same influencer that talked about rest, I think she lives in Tampa actually, but she likes to roller skate. So she's always like roller skating. And I love people who have hobbies with your tennis, and reclaim self care in different ways.
Going back to our intro of having to do the work, it's hard to peel back those layers and get deep enough to be like, that's where there's a wound. And then like identifying it and then trying to work on it. Like that is like the hard work of self care that goes beyond like face masks and massages.
Well, that's the real work. That's
Mm.
the real work. And I love that you brought this up, because when I think about where my self love journey or self care journey started, it was when I moved to San Francisco. So when I was 24, I was living in Miami and I was sort of living this crazy life. After grad school, I had this year where I was teaching. I didn't love teaching. I didn't like what I was doing. I was sort of in a toxic situationship with this guy, and I moved to San Francisco. And I had to sit with myself. I only had one friend that lived there, and it was a lot of journaling and a lot of uncovering layers and a lot of tears. And that process that was a decade ago, and I'm still right there and I'm still uncovering, because once you think you've reached a level of unlearning, then you get to this new level and you're like, oh my God, the work is never done, because there's so much to learn about yourself and want to improve, right?
And we're just growing more every time you get there and you do the work and you unpeel that layer, then you're learning more about healing and things that you can do so that uncovers more shit.
Yeah.
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 And for me, mine was like also leaving a toxic relationship and being like, okay, like, I don't know why it's always when we leave a toxic relationship, like that heartbreak. I don't want to say pointing out our flaws, but when you break up with someone as you're in a toxic relationship, you kind of just think, why was I stuck in it? When you can see clearly, you're like, why was I stuck in that? What did I need from that? What was that feeding me, and why couldn't I leave?
Yeah. When I moved to San Francisco, I reflected on all my relationships from 17 to 24, and I did not have one healthy relationship. And I thought back on all of the things that I did, my behaviors, my jealousy, right? In our culture, like, jealousy is a big thing. You don't let your husband go out and do this. You don't let your boyfriend go out and do this. And you're going to talk to that girl. And it's like, wait, what is that? I need to learn to feel confident in myself and confident in the person that I'm with, that they are the right person that I can trust, so I don't have to feel jealous. So jealousy came up a lot for me. Another thing was my relationship with alcohol. And it's something that I continue to navigate and learn about. But that played a big role. And the way I would just explode if I had had like one drink and I had big emotions, oh man, it was over for that person. Um, and allowing men to walk all over me because I think I was the quote unquote cool girl for a while, like, oh, I'm like fun and I go out and I like to drink and I like to party. And that gets confused with um like the serious wife material girl. And there was a time in my life where I was good luck Chuck. Every guy I dated, after they dated me, they found the person that they would marry. And it was so heartbreaking. So going back to San Francisco, that was step one of me like sitting with myself and being like, holy shit. All of these things are, yes, they were like, also the men were not the right men, or, but I was not the right person or the person that I needed to be in order to meet someone like my husband.
I resonate with all that because, especially the jealousy thing, it wasn't until I started to feel confident in myself and what I wanted that I was, yeah, you can do whatever you want. If you're going to do shady things, then I don't want you. Instead of just being like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this to me. Like, I'd be like, okay, well, if you want to go over there and do those things, then freaking do it. But I can just go get someone else kind of mentality. That kind of confidence in myself attracted my now husband too. And like, he had the same confidence in himself so that it just fed like a healthy relationship.
I gave myself the space to say, I don't want to be with anybody. Like when I moved to San Francisco, I was like, okay, I don't want to be with anybody. I want to be by myself. I want to have fun. I dedicated that time to myself and to discovering what are the things that I enjoy to do. Who am I? And I really found myself in my yoga practice. And that led to so much self reflection. I was stronger physically, but also mentally. Like, I'll never forget, I used to go to this yoga studio in Berkeley called Yoga to the People. And I was very poor when I moved to San Francisco. I was making $40,000 a year in California before taxes. So I was very poor, and this was a free yoga studio. And I would go almost every day on my bike because I didn't have a car and it was cheaper than taking public transit. And this one instructor, he would make you sit in chair pose. I kid you not, it felt like 15 minutes. And it came to a point where I could stay in chair forever because I learned that self control and that self restraint and this mantra that he would repeat. And it was, if you can control your breath, you can control your life. And that changed me. That changed me forever. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be with anyone ever again. Like, I just want to be by myself. Um, and then I met my husband, and life had you know, other plans for us.
That
But
sounds low key like a military. Stay in chair pose
went to
forever.
the army, and no.
Self love for Latinas is an act of resistance. It's breaking cycles and setting new standards for future generations.
How do you practice self care for yourself? What does that look like?
So I've been trying to just listen to my body more. If I feel energetic, then I'll try to play tennis or do like yoga or some kind of workout. If I'm feeling lazy, like today, read a book, take a nap if I have the time.
I love that.
What about you?
Definitely silence is a form of self care for me. I feel like my brain is always moving a million miles per second, whether I'm spiraling about something at work or I'm spiraling about something at home. I spiral easily. And so, um, self love manifests in finding quiet times. Also, journaling is an act of self love for me. I really love journaling. I have a love hate relationship with it because sometimes it feels really hard, and the times where it feels hard is actually when I need to the most. I love yoga, like I said, like my yoga practice, and finding time where I can do whatever I want for myself. Not to be too consumer culture, but I think one girls' trip a year is really important for my self care too. And finding time to be with my girlfriends. My girlfriends lift me up. My girlfriends give me so much strength. They're my biggest cheerleaders. They're just my family at this point, and I need them, and they're my self care too.
So, like, going to therapy is a
Mm.
form of self care for me because sometimes I don't want to. And other times I'm like, I don't even need to do this anymore. Like, I'm fine. But continuing to go and continuing to see my therapist as often as I do, keeping with the routine. There's been times where I'm like, oh, like I should reschedule or cancel, but like showing up and then like really showing up to therapy is a form of self care.
I have a stat related to mental health and Latinos. So in 2023, Hispanic adults were 60% less likely to have received mental health treatment compared to non Hispanic white adults. And Latina women, a separate stat, but Latina women in the US are at an increased risk for depression and anxiety with rates twice those of a Latino man. So I'm so proud of you for going to therapy. Are you the first person in your family to go to therapy?
Um, in my immediate family, it's a toss up between me and my sister. We might have one that started at the same time. But I will
Your
say everybody in
parents?
my parents do not go. They were like, I can't believe you're going. They would actually, this is so the reason why we probably have such bad stats and going to therapy and seeking help for our mental health. But when I first started going, I would just slipped it into conversation like, so my therapist said, and like in a conversation. But yeah, I just think it's like that stigma in Latin families of like, oh, you're depressed, go clean your room.
Yeah, for sure. I admittedly do not go to therapy, but probably should. I've had kind of bad experiences with therapists. So 2 years ago, I was deep in postpartum. My son was 2, so postpartum depression can go for a long time. And I was on Lexapro, and I took Lexapro for a year, and it was the best thing. Anybody who is considering antidepressants, they don't have to be forever. They can be for a period of time, and it was just a life changer for me. Which my mom was like, "Tú no necesitas eso. You don't need those. Why are you on those?" And I'm like, "Okay, they literally saved my life." But when I got off, I decided like I should probably go to therapy and talk to someone just to make sure that I'm good. And I started seeing this woman, and I liked her so much. I probably met with her 4 or 5 times. She ghosted me.
That's
Ghosted.
crazy.
Así, como si nada. Just
Just
never
poof.
heard from her again. Poof, poof. She
Did she
disappeared.
die?
No.
Like that's the only excuse.
I don't know if she died, but I was doing it through like an app through BetterHelp.
Oh yeah, I met my therapist off there, and then we went off, and now we're like, you
I know
know,
you motivated me to get on it, and then I did it, and then she freaking ghosted me.
she. I mean, I hope she didn't die because I don't hope bad things on people. But like,
I don't
how
think
did
she
you
died.
ghost
I
your
think
friend?
she was tired of my shit. She was like, "You crazy as hell." She's like, "Esta está loquísima. I cannot help her. She too cray."
Oh my god! But not even to say anything to you, just be like, never available ever again for you.
He just didn't even break up with me, and after that, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna take my journal and my yoga and stick to that."
I'm taking
But okay, let's pivot. Cafecito and chisme?
cafecito chisme time. I have no cafecito.
I have no cafecito either.
But you guys listening better have your cafecito ready
Yeah, you guys
for
have your
us.
cafecito, your cocktails, your maquis, whatever you got.
Pour one out for Roxanne's therapist. That goes.
R.I.P. girl.
Oh, okay. So my chisme, I was, do you know Sydney Sweeney?
Mhm.
A while ago, she made a rom com with Glenn Powell, and they were like very flirtatious on the tour. And it was everybody was like, "Oh my god, you know, like they're dating." The other side's like, "Calm down, like they are just promoting their rom com." and they're doing a job because you guys are all buying it. And then she came out and she was like, actually, I have a boyfriend. And then he proposed to her shortly after they got engaged. They've been engaged for a while. So the chisme is that she was spotted at Glenn Powell's sister's wedding, like Solida, and they were all like hanging out. And then the day after, she calls off the wedding.
OMG.
So Glenn Powell's mom has come out and said that they are not dating.
I love how his mom's like, not my son.
Yeah,
Toxic
like
mom
big
behavior.
Cheech, her ex fiance Jonathan Davino, he was like a producer. So like they called off the wedding, and it was literally like a day or a couple of days after they were spotted at Glenn Powell's sister's wedding.
Interessant. We'll have to keep eyes on that. They're definitely hooking up.
I'm I'm the crazy toxica that's like, I am rooting for you and Glenn Powell.
No, we're unlearning. We're
Yeah,
unlearning.
yeah. This episode is self-love. Oh, my little toxica still lives in there.
Yeah, we're fighting our toxicas because we're at the age of our tia toxicas, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like always trying to remind myself we listen, we don't judge. That whole
Yeah,
thing, you know.
period. Yeah, exactly.
Well, going back to our last week's tea about Yolanda Sardivar, she was denied parole. So celebrations there. And yesterday was the 30th year anniversary of Selena's passing. And there was a lot of press around it. And we'll always remember Selena. And we'll always remember J-Lo as Selena too.
The only thing good that J-Lo has done.
Toxica. Guys, why does J-Lo feel so tough? I am the first one to want to support women and like women love women, but I feel like she's at a level of stardom. She's not one of us anymore.
It's hard to support J-Lo.
It's hard to support J-Lo. We've covered a lot of ground today. I want to end with an affirmation to our primas, a reminder that you are enough. And if you need that reminder of what self-care is, how to think about self-care, or how to reimagine self-care, we shared a little bit about what our journey has been, and hopefully that's inspiring you to think about yours. It doesn't have to be face masks and massage and spending money. It's doing that work within yourself and finding ways to hold and create your peace.
And we're proud of you for doing the work, even though it's hard, and just keep showing up and keep doing it because your future self will thank you for it.
We'll see you all next time.
Bye.